Usually we're talking to Orla about GAA, but I want to start this conversation by asking you about Plant for the Planet Games and the trip to Kenya later this month as part of a 50-strong GAA group. Can you fill us in on this trip, Orla, and why it's happening?
Yeah, I can, of course. So I guess this trip was originally organised by Alan Kearns and his organisation Warriors for Humanity. So it was actually originally meant to happen back in 2020, but obviously with COVID and travel bans, that got postponed, and we're eventually coming around to doing it now in 2022. I guess it's the collective aim between the 50 of us heading over on this trip is to plant 1 million trees. And this is in partnership with Self Help Africa and the Gaelic Players Association. Self Help Africa, so they are a charitable organisation that specialise in small scale farming and, training up these families and communities in these parts of Africa to, in sustainable farming and, allowing them to, I guess, get income, foods and all of that. And, it's a very much a sustainable kind of projects that they work on. So I guess our funds will be going to Self Help Africa and, adding to their tree planting projects that they're already doing. I guess like not only is it tackling climate change, helping out these communities and families. I guess Africa, and Kenya in particular are, going through drought, need the support in that way. But this trip will also be a promotion of the GAA, I guess, with the 50 of us that are going, and an exchange, between Kenyan and Irish sports personalities, to come together to tackle climate change, I suppose, and do that through sport. So it's a very kind of, it's a historic trip, I suppose, and our aim is to leave a collective legacy. And in the name of the title, Plant the Planet Games, there will be the first ever intercounty game, mixed male and female, played over there as well. So there's lots to it, but we want to create history, and we want to, everyone that's supporting us, we want to kind of take them on this journey with us as well.
And like you said there, Orla, like you're going to leave a legacy here too. And I see each player is committed to raising €10,000, and the money raised will go towards obviously a very good cause, help Africa and planting those trees. Because I suppose for our listeners that just to think about the difference that those trees will make over for the communities in Kenya, like they're provide a vital source of food, income and shelter for hundreds and even thousands of families. They'll help improve the soil and rehabilitate degraded soil even and land. So it'll leave a long lasting legacy long after the 50 players come home from Kenya.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess climate change, it's hard for anyone to ignore now. I think everybody needs to play their part. And, while, planting trees may not be tackling the root of the problem, at least these trees are one of the most effective ways of offsetting like a carbon footprint, taking carbon from the atmosphere. I think like a single mature tree can remove up over 25 kgs of carbon. So it's really effective to sequester carbon, and really helping these communities so that they, I guess, can live, in what's really struggling circumstances for them at the moment and in last number of years, and what may continue to worsen as well, unless we take action. So yeah, I mean, they provide food. I think fruit trees, there's passion fruit, there's cashew trees that that are all going to be planted. Like while we're over there, we'll be able to involve ourselves in that tree planting regime or projects that they have going on. So it'll be really, I'm really looking forward to seeing the work that Self Help Africa do out there already. And not only is it just for the trees that will be planted, it will also be, that training and technical support that they get from Self Help Africa that these funds will be going towards as well. Yeah, so definitely, I mean, if we can take action, and if that's just, by starting with planting trees and removing the carbon from the atmosphere, it's going to be a big help, I think.
And like I said there, that all the players are committed to raising €10,000. So listeners to this podcast, and I hope there's listeners and even big businesses out there in West Cork who are going to support this. How can they help, Orla? How can they donate towards this cause?
So we've each committed to raising 10 grand. I guess the cost of planting a tree is 40 cents. And there's 50 of us going on the trip, so 10,000 really equates to 25,000 trees being planted over in Kenya. I have a I donate link set up that businesses or anyone can directly, if by clicking on the link, it's on all my social media platforms, and they can donate directly there. Or I'd be happy for anyone to get in touch. They can help sponsor and go directly through to Self Help Africa as well. So I mean, my social media platforms really are the best place to get the link, and we can maybe attach that here as well to this podcast, for anyone to get that link out there, which would be brilliant. Yeah.
And you'll be joined by some very familiar faces on this trip, including St. Colum's own Libby Coppinger, who's also involved, and she's also raising funds. But why did you decide to support this cause, Orla?
Yeah, I think as I said, I think in the last number of years, we've all noticed the crippling effects of climate change. And when I was presented with the opportunity, I think it's hard to deny that, really, if you felt like you were giving any bit of support, or I suppose leveraging the influence that maybe I could have as an independent player, and like the rest of the players as well, 50 of us that are going. If we can use our maybe influence locally anyway, to support this cause, I think that was just immediately something that attracted me towards it. So I mean, it's really hard to ignore the effects that climate change is having on every country. And I guess what stood out to me was how Africa are probably only contribute to climate change or emissions of harmful gases by about 4%, but they're probably suffering some of the worst kind of effects of it. So I guess that's really my motivation, and seeing this as a really nice opportunity to just make an impact in some way.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant, and the very best of luck in the weeks ahead. And for any of our listeners who want to donate, we will include the link in this podcast. So just click on the link to the Orla's I Donate page, and please make a donation. And while I have you here, Orla, I just want to have a quick GA chat with you for a second and turn it back to the GA scene, because I suppose it's fair to say it was a frustrating season for you with Cork, one of those years where you just didn't seem to get this was the rub of the green, and Lady Luck didn't shine on you, and you ended up stepping away from the panel during the summer because of injuries. Was that a hard decision to make, and how frustrating was this year for you?
It was definitely a hard decision to make. It wasn't how I intended the year to pan out, I suppose, for me. Very frustrating, I guess. And I think anyone who's an athlete, has went through periods like this where, they might have unlucky times of recurrent injuries. So yeah, I mean, I guess I was coming into the year maybe carrying a bit of a niggle, which, like any off season or like any preseason, it's going to be tough. So it's hard to, be kind of coming into a tough preseason when you already are carrying some knocks. So I guess it was kind of, I suppose I was doing my best to get back from injuries. And really then when I would kind of go back into the thick of training, it was like I would pick up another soft tissue injury, or, I think initially it was my quad, and then I had a hamstring. So I guess it was just, I really had to try find the balance and getting the load right, getting adequate recovery, but also trying to train. And it was nearly like it just started to catch up with me a bit, and there was also a few things like I picked up like some rib bruising in another game when I had just got back. So I suppose, you have ups and downs as an athlete, and it was kind of one of those years where there was a lot of just unfortunate events that kind of happened, that seemed to catch up with me. And before I knew it, it was in the thick of the season when, you kind of want to be training, pain free and injury free, and I was still really trying to play catch up in some of those injuries. So I think I probably have to look at it and say that essentially they're after forcing me out, and I just needed a bit more time to get them right. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was a difficult decision to make, and obviously I want to be playing with Cork, and seeing the girls even play on in the All Ireland final, it's really tough. But I'm kind of, I suppose, happy that I took the time to get them right anyway, because my aim now is to be fit for the coming year.
Did you feel like that decision, it was the right decision for you to make at the time, because just to step outside that bubble and look after yourself to try and get your body right to go again?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it would have been the fairest on the team as well. Um, just to I think I do everything I could to get back right, and when it wasn't happening, I think there was it was going to be impossible really to get myself right for semi-final or final or whatever stage it was at, and I just had to take that step back and get them right. I mean, I played probably my first game this year. I had just gotten back for the first round of club championship, and prior to that I had just been rehabbing since I had decided to take a step off the panel for the rest of the year. So it was a long year really of rehab for me, and figuring out what the issues were, um and getting to the source of them. So I was only really kind of starting off my season in a way when I came to the first club game with Enniskeane, and we had 4 round games, and by the fourth one, I was definitely starting to feel a bit better. My body was feeling better, and um, I think that time, probably stood to me that I had to just put the nail on them.
Given the success you've had in the last couple of years, like you're emerging as one of the top players in the country, and obviously you're all-star as well. This is obviously the other side of the coin, and it just shows for athletes, like there are tough times there too. So it was a tough, frustrating season for you with Cork. But do you think you've emerged from it? What lessons have you learned from it, Orla?
Yeah, I think I've learned invaluable lessons from it really. It's been a busy few years, not only just with camogie, but with finishing my masters and qualifying, starting work as a physiotherapist. There's been a lot of things going on, and I guess you can get pulled in a lot of different directions. And I guess for me as well, I probably figured out the importance of fueling adequately as well. There's, I guess I was always trying to push myself, that next level, and even in off season, still trying to train. And I guess like any athlete, you want to just get as much out of yourself as possible. But sometimes you need to learn that lessons more too, and giving your body that time to recover, and eating enough and sleeping enough and all that. I guess there's just a few basics of recovery that I needed to figure out for myself as well this year, and giving myself time to recover and adapt again. So yeah, I think I've learned a lot about myself this year, definitely. And yeah, it's one that it's a year that could happen to anyone, or a time that could happen to any athlete. So definitely got to take the positives from it, and go into the season now with a good mindset.
Fitness wise, how are things?
Yeah, all good. As good as they can be, I think. So in the off season in the gym, um, still keeping up that bit of running. So no injury concerns really at the moment. Positive sign.
And so, like Cork fans listen to this podcast, they'll want to hear: will we see Orla Cronin back in the red of Cork next year?
Yeah, that's the plan anyway. So looking forward to it. Yeah, it's sure it's an honor to play with Cork. And it's brilliant to play at my club. So I mean, really, the club kind of, once I got back to probably that fourth game where I started to feel a bit better again, it's kind of like what you want to play for. So yeah, looking forward to the year ahead.
And having a year like you did with Cork, and then seeing the team go on to the All-Ireland final, of course, didn't finish the way we wanted it to against Kilkenny, but seeing how close this Cork team is to getting their hands back on the top prize again, and knowing that you'll be back, touch wood again, fully fit and flying next year, like you must be really looking forward to next season already.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I think, the girls are obviously really disappointed with how close they got, and there was really nothing in it. But I think, everybody, the hunger is still there, and will always be there really with Cork Camogie to get back to the top. So it's really, very, very little in it. Could easily have went the other way, this year. So we're not too far off it at all. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Did you travel to the final this year, or did you watch it from home, or did you even watch the game? Or
Yeah, I went to the game. Yeah, I was in Crow Park watching it. So it was quite funny. Yeah, I was with some of my family, and they kind of speak of how they might feel at All Ireland finals in the past, when I was playing, and I like I really understood them, when I was there this year, because I was nervous, I was nerve not that I was nervous for the girls, but you just it's funny to see it from the other side, and see how much it means to people watching on as well. So it was a funny side of it. But yeah, definitely, yeah, I was there. It was a different spectacle, definitely being on the outside the white line.
but even on that, Orla, it must be totally different perspective for a player like who's used to being on the pitch, to be a fan, to walk up Jones's Road that day, even this was the banter outside the ground, even in the ground itself, kind of it gives you just a different perspective on an All Ireland final.
Yeah, it really does. And I think, you could be watching on the warm up or even the build up before the whistle, is blown. And because, I've been involved or I've been with the team in the past, you kind of know, oh, this is what they might be feeling right now, or this is maybe what they're doing. It was very funny actually. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to be there and wanted to support the girls. So yeah, I think I obviously prefer to have been inside the line, but hopefully now next year we can try to get back there again.
And all our hope is you'll be back on the pitch with Cork next year and all the way to the final, and put the record straight, put Cork back on top. But before that, you have a very important trip to Kenya later this month. So I just want to wish you the best of luck there. And like I said, we'll have all the links where you can donate to Orla Cronin. We'll attach them to this podcast. And if there's any business in West Cork out there who'd like to get in contact with Orla as well, through her social media, or if you want to get in contact with the Southern Star, we can put you in contact with Orla too. So again, Orla, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and best of luck in Kenya at the end of the month.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kieran.